It's time for Norwegian news. The best kind of news. Especially as today we're talking about banning the pride flag. I imagine you can already suss out my position on the topic. As yes, I am all for banning the pride flag. And the Sami one too, which we'll get to in a second, but it is almost the 17th of May. That is Norway's national holiday, when we told the Swedes to go eat shit and give us back our independence, and if they didn't like it, they could declare war on us. The Swedes, with predictable cowardice, declined. As they hadn't taken us by force, they had been given suzerainty over us by the equally shit-eating Danes, who had gained control over us after most of our adult population died during the Black Plague. Norway surrounded by inferior creatures, both morally, intellectually, and spiritually. But we're not here to talk about Norwegian history. So, approaching the national holiday, the debate always arises as to, hey, could we allow flags that aren't Norway's on Norway's birthday? The answer is no. Idiot. And that should be the end of it. And yet, every goddamn year, it pops up yet again, as now we're debating whether or not we should have pride flags on the 17th of May and in Norwegian governmental buildings and schools. See, it used to be illegal to raise any flags over, Norwegian governmental property that wasn't Norwegian. Strange, I know. Why would a nationality, a nation, wish to fly its own flag instead of others? Downright strange. And yet, that was the law until we changed it specifically to allow for the pride flag. Now the debate is raging yet again, so let me translate this into Norwegian, shall we? As we have one point of view here saying, no, only use the Norwegian flag, and another going, nah, we're in Pridey-stan now, not Norway. So, the Norwegian flag is a unifying, inclusive symbol. Children need to learn and experience both love and tolerance. Reserving public school flagpoles for the Norwegian and Sami flag in no way contradicts this. I'm all for banning the Sami flag as well, incidentally, because this is not Samistan either, it is Norway. Despite countless pieces of evidence to the contrary, as the Sami populace still has more rights than the Norwegians do, but details. On the contrary, the Norwegian flag is a symbol of unity for everyone living in Norway, regardless of background, identity, or political stance. So immediately we are attempting to outflank the left from the left. I don't believe this is a good argument, because it will always fall prey to the left-wing argument. It is a kind argument, it is a nice argument, but the correct argument is, of course, we live in Norway. Shut up. This flag represents diversity, fundamental freedoms, and our liberal democracy. It is inclusive and symbolizes the best things about Norway, a free country with freedom of expression, diversity of opinion, and the right to love whoever you want. This also is true. Norway is an incredibly liberal nation. A little bit too much, as those very liberties are now being taken advantage of. They go on to argue a little bit about this. I don't necessarily think all rainbow activists who have fought for political change in recent decades would disagree with any of this. He's talking about the privileges that people have in Norway. Today, the rainbow flag is closely associated with the Free Association, which owns and organizes most of the pride celebrations in Norway, and which promotes a political platform with demands for, amongst other things, surrogacy, liberalization of gender reassignment, and the abolition of the Sex Purchase Act. So, this is an interesting little thing, as of course, the pride flag has nothing to do with simply being allowed to love whoever you want anymore. At one point, it may have stood for that, and even that is somewhat dubious considering the origins and the nature of things like the Stonewall riots and so on, but these days it is a political movement first and foremost, with Free, this organization, of course being an explicitly political one, advocating largely for, giving humanitarian aid to LGBT people, for jobs for LGBTQ people, etc., etc. So, it's yet another progressive organization that is arguing for the further advantagement of progressives. Shocking. Surprising, indeed. How completely out of left field. It's weird how all left-wing advocacy groups always ends up arguing for something for which they will be the direct beneficiary. Wow. It's kind of like the entire thing is a scam, but hey, details, details. Today is of course legitimate for free to promote its views. It is an important part of a vibrant democracy. At the same time, we believe there are good reasons to be cautious about raising what many also perceive as a political flag. Again, it's not perceived, it is a political flag. KrF, which is the Christian party in Norway, wants the main rule of the Flag Act to apply to schools and kindergartens, as the situation was before 2021. This means the Norwegian and Sami flag should be used on public flagpoles. This does not imply a ban on the rainbow flag, nor is it an expression of any form of culture war or Hungarian conditions, as some have claimed. This, incidentally, is why Norway is still stuck in 2014. Even the most strident opponents of progressivism in Norway still attempt to outflank the left from the left, using the left's lingo, the left's values, and the left's ideas to try and go, hey, but these are your principles too. Don't you like them? To which they go, no, I'm a progressive. I have no standards. I have no principles. I have no morality. I'm woke. What was the... Oh, yes, the Vorshian quote, "My principles is to win." It's as simple as that. You cannot outflank the left from the left. You cannot appeal to their values. You cannot appeal to their standards because they have none. This was then opposed by a similar piece. Now, normally in Norwegian newspapers, the left is simply allowed to write whatever the hell it wants, so the fact that there was indeed an opposition piece to this is remarkable, although this is far more so the responding part. Right, let's translate that into English. Children do not need protection from love and tolerance, but should rather be protected from intolerance, hatred, and arguments that fuel hateful currents. And there we are. You appeal to the left's standards, and it returns with victimhood. 3 years ago, 2 hearts stopped beating, 21 were injured, and hundreds ran for their lives. The man who opened fire on people outside the London pub in Oslo attacked love and freedom to live as oneself. It's stirring rhetoric. You can't deny it. It is full of emotion, pathos. It is about human lives. We stand for kindness. How will you deny us the ability to be alive? Of course, the person who conducted this terrorist attack was a Muslim. And you're arguing against a Christian. But hey, details, details. And again, it simply goes to show you can't use logic on these people. It can't be a debate. You simply must say, no, the Norwegian flagpoles owned by the government of Norway will only fly the Norwegian flag, period. And when they go, oh, but what about tolerance? No, screw you. It's that simple. You cannot have a debate here. Last year, Dad ordered emotional appeal. You get the drift. Although the suicidal thoughts and suicidal attempts are considerably higher among queer people, including trans. See, there's a little thing here. With that as a backdrop, it only becomes extra sad that KrF wants to introduce a national ban on schools raising the rainbow flag to protect school management, principals, and children when they are the place they are most apart from their own home. So, the argument here is that we must have the pride flag so that people can feel safe. Again, the Norwegian flag already does this. Norwegian law already does this. Norwegian laws already outlaws crimes against people based on their status of gender, religiosity, or sexuality. You already have all of the protection you could ever ask for. And if indeed suicides, blah blah blah, everything is just terrible for pride people, for LGBTQ people, even though you live in one of the most progressive nations on earth, but none of your progressive nonsense appears to have done anything to fix that. The pride flag in schools hasn't fixed that. Countless pride programs hasn't fixed that. Hate crime laws punishing people more harshly for going after you, giving you the status of a privileged class, hasn't fixed that. And if indeed these problems are continuing to increase even as virtue signaling is at an all-time high, perhaps it is because of these symbols rather than against them, despite them more correctly. That is why it's extra important that school feels safe for those who unfortunately have a reason to feel extra insecure. It must be absolutely terrible to experience that you can't be your emotional appeal. Well, we arrive at an argument at one point. Place your bets now. No one becomes queer because they see a rainbow flag. Oh, that's almost an argument. An appeal to, well, insignificance, in essence. Going, it doesn't matter. Okay, well, if it doesn't matter, 1, stop doing it, and 2, actually, you're wrong on that. So we can see here from 2012, 3.5% of the American populace, and this is a general thing, but populations, identified as LGBTQ+. 2024, 9.3%. 3 times as many. Now, either something very strange was pumped into the drinking water, or surrounding people with pride iconography, hailing it as the one true religion, giving it special political privileges and protections, and even indeed legal protections, placing LGBTQ individuals above the rest of the population, does indeed make people gravitate towards this protected ideology. Just saying. There is something petty about letting the intolerance of the majority win over the sense of security of the minority. No, it's not. You are arguing here that you should be allowed to oppress the majority. You are arguing that you should be allowed to say, I know we live in Norway, but I want to take down the Norwegian flag and replace it with mine. No. Simple as, you have decreed that if you were in power, you are willing to and desire to oppress the majority. The majority has every reason then to oppress you in turn. In fact, oppressing the intolerant, which is you, progressives, is in itself an act of tolerance, as Karl Popper said. You cannot be tolerant towards the intolerant. Nobody are more intolerant than the progressives, who will not even allow a nation to fly its own flag. I don't understand why people let themselves be provoked by love. Love is equally beautiful for everyone who is lucky enough to experience it. And this is another sign of Norway living in 2014, by the way, because these days, that's a map argument. That is unironically the map argument right there. It still hasn't filtered down in Norway. I know, it's kind of remarkable. Every single year this debate comes up, only because you keep pushing it. Every single year we see that adults who should know better choose to cultivate conspiracy theories and create notions the flag means anything other than what it actually does. It means progressivism. It means artificially advantaging progressive people. It means giving them money. It means giving them jobs. It means giving them special protections. You say all of this. It's on the internet. Why are you even pretending? There are no single organization that solely owns either pride markings or rainbow flags. That is true, but there are a hell of a lot of organizations that claims them. It is owned by the gay movement worldwide. Well, once it was. These days it's owned by progressivism far more so than that. It is owned by everyone who is out of the closet, by those who still refuse to be themselves. It is owned by all those who have gone before and fought for rights, emotional appeal. The rainbow flag represents freedom, security, and the right to love whoever you want. Are you sure you are not in the map closet? Just asking. I'm going to continue to take this fight. It's not an option for my children to grow up in a society where we are unable to stand against the forces that want to hide all colors. Well, luckily for you, you don't live in that society. You don't exist in a Muslim land. Not yet, anyways. We're heading in that direction. But for the moment, you do not live in Turkey. You don't live in Iran. You don't live in India or China. You live in Norway, the quintessential liberal democracy. The example that people from foreign nations turn to when they wish to defend absolute liberalism. When they want to go, why can't we be as liberal as these countries? Why can't we be as free, quote unquote? They mention Norway. They mention Scandinavia. You already live in a country where you can be any color you damn well want and nobody will give a shit. It has been a core part of the Norwegian experience, of the Norwegian psyche for as long as we've been around. I mention this often. There's a thing, the Norwegian arm. See, in most civilized countries, if you want something from the other end of the table, the kitchen table, the dining table, if you want the salt, you ask somebody, hey, could you pass me the salt to whoever is closest? Not Norway, we grab it. We reach across the entire table, we reach over other people's food to grab it, and this is entirely normal. It is entirely natural. Why? Because every Norwegian is an island. That's why. We don't give a shit about who you are. We don't give a shit about what you think, who you want to fuck. None of this is relevant whatsoever. In fact, we dearly would prefer it if you would keep it to your goddamn self, as that is the second part of the Norwegian social contract. You shut up about yourself, and I'll shut up about myself. It's very simple. You can tell me about who you want to have sex with when we're friends. And even then, in moderations, por favor. And that again is the beauty of Norwegian society. We have so many things which basically just makes us all equal. You're not supposed to be bragging. You're supposed to be humble. You're supposed to be independent. You can be whatever you want, but you should keep it to yourself and nobody will bother you. We are mentally and spiritually some of the freest people on Earth. Probably the freest, honestly. I will go that far. We Norwegians are freedom made manifest, okay? Except for our taxes. There's a problem. You don't avoid that. That's not happening. But on an individual level, beliefs, ideas, and what we idealize, you already do live in that colorful society. You are, however, trying to destroy it because you cannot be unique in pride culture. You must be queer. And if you are not queer, you must be an ally. Otherwise, you are an enemy. You are somebody who, well, just literally has, I don't even know how many paragraphs of just emotional assaults launched against you. You are somebody who defaces the rainbow flag, although I don't believe that's the exact translation. Oh yes, dirty, filthy fire, deface, close enough. Rainbow flag. You are an enemy. You are evil. You are a conspiracy theorist. You are fueling hatred. Once more, progressivism is by far the single most exclusionary ideology that the 20th and the 21st century has brought forth so far. Even the actual communists were more inclusive. Even the other flavor of national rather than international socialists were more inclusive than you are right now. The pride flag should not be flown, not on the 17th of May, not ever by governmental institutions, on governmental flagpoles. It simply should not happen, and anyone who does raise it should indeed be arrested for dishonoring the flag. Simple. End of debate, end of discussion, and we never need bring it up again. And if you don't like it, there are plenty of other countries you could move to who would be far more welcoming of your diversity. I suggest a brown one, just so you can value what you have now apparently lost. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.